Hello, my loves. Hello. I'm hopping on today to talk about to touch on the 1111 portal. We're just going to touch on it. It's not some big thing we need to talk about, but I am going to touch on it and what this 1111 portal means. And then I'm going to be sharing with you guys a little bit about my experience with an 8-day self-isolation that I put myself through. What that experience was like for me and what some of my takeaways were. I am going to be sharing all that I learned from this experience, all of the tips and tricks that were given to me from Spirit, and all of it I'm going to be talking about in the Academy. So let me just take a second while you guys are hopping on. Say hello. Give me some love. Donations, if you're on YouTube, are always appreciated. There is a link in my bio. It really helps support me coming on live and just sharing freely. What am I doing, Johanna? Here we go. So we're coming to you from YouTube and Facebook right now. I'm just going to share this very quickly into my group while everybody's hopping on. Let me know how this 1111 is treating you. How do you feel? Do you guys feel the energy? Do you feel the intensity? This morning, I could feel a lot of it. Here we go. Perfect. All right, I can put this down. This morning, I felt a lot of the 1111 energy in my solar plexus and sacral. Which is to be expected, actually. So if you're experiencing any type of nausea, any type of exhaustion, any type of stomach discomfort, any type of things like that, that's going to be pretty typical. And the reason why, hi guys, thank you all for hopping on. The reason why that you're feeling it in that way is because this 1111 is very special. It's very different than the other ones because this isn't just simply like an 1111. It is 11/11/2020. And the last time there was digits in that way was 11/11/1919. So what this is doing is completing a 100-year cycle. And it's integration. This 1111 portal is all about integration. And the reason why, so if you think about it, I really want you to think about what the numbers represent. If you're someone who you don't even have to be somebody who's big into numerology. I just want you to think about what those numbers mean to you and what you've learned that those numbers mean for you, right? So October, we went through this huge clearing, right? October is it's very normal for October to be a very clearing month. It's the number 10 represents completion. It's everything just kind of clearing everything out, right? And so in through the month of October, we had a ton of intense energy. We had a lot of challenging things that were really making us face ourselves in the mirror, really facing some of those, fears and doubts. I mean, really, who hasn't been experiencing that all of 2020, right? Having to face our fears, having to face our shadows, having to face our insecurities and our uncertainties. And so there really was kind of a pressurizing that was happening in October, which led you guys up to November. And as I've said in the November energy update, November is going to be turbulent. November is going to be kind of all over the place. But it's because there's such big shifts available. And I am going to use that word available, okay? Because I'll tell you, and as I get into the 8 days of isolation, I was very humbled, which is always a good thing to be humbled, as I had nothing much to do other than communicate with my higher self and my lower, and all the versions of myself, right? All the aspects of me is what I was communicating with. And then I would go deep and I would connect into my higher self, into my galactic team and my other team members. And so I'll be sharing in that in a minute because it really ties into this. But 1111 is an integration, okay? Because in December is going to be that big first wave, all right? So I talked about this again in any of my updates over the last 4 or 5 months, is in December, we're going to be moving into a very photonic rich environment in the universe. even more so than it already is. Okay. This is why we feel everything more intently. This is why everything feels so much more intense. The joys, the lows, they're experienced so much more intensely. It's because we have so much rich photonic light available to us, but now that we didn't have years ago. Okay. It just wasn't available. We weren't in the planet itself, Gaia, which is a frequency. She's not really a planet. She's a frequency. Herself was in a very dense part of the universe. If that, it wasn't photonically rich, is what I mean by dense. So we're moving into this photonically rich space in the universe, which is really supporting us by intensifying everything. So this first wave that's coming in December, as we move further and further into that very rich photonic place, then we will come into that 0 point alignment with Aquarius, and we will be having that first activation take place, which is going to take place over about a month's time, right? So the middle of December into about the middle of January. Over that time, people are going to be experiencing these intense activations inside of themselves. It will show up differently for everybody. Some people will literally wake up and things will be completely different for them. Others, it will be seeds that are planted. Other people, it will be the disturbing things that will happen on the planet that will awaken them. But everybody's going to be receiving and being activated at a level of their understanding and their pace, that their design, right? Forget about human design. Human design is really based to help us understand our blueprint. But everybody has that blueprint, and that blueprint kind of tells you how fast or slow you're going to go, what your plan here was in this human game. And let me tell you, they have said that Earth is the golden ticket, you guys. This is where everybody wants to be. Everybody wants to have the ticket to come and have a dense experience because it's so freaking advanced. You are the chosen ones that are here having this experience, because one of the things that they shared, I'm going to go off track for a second, but it's important because it's showing up right now, is one of the things that they had said is that everything that we do, every action we take, every word we speak, every energy we vibrate out is recorded in Earth's library, okay, in Gaia's library. Because Gaia holds the Akashic library for any being, not just humans, any being that has ever had experience on this plane, okay, on her, because she is a frequency all in herself. So anybody that has come to be a part of this earthly experiment, of this grand experiment. Sorry, the Pleiadians are coming in. This grand experience, they are the ones that they're making a little bit of room inside of me. So let me try to reframe. Anybody who comes, any being, whether it's a human race, an animal, another being, because there's many, many beings that are residing on the frequency of Gaia at this time, that comes to this place to have this experience, is held in Gaia's records. Okay. And this is something that if you're a member of the Self-Mastery Academy, this information that I've learned over this 8 days is perfect for my course Reclamation, that I'm actually in the process of recording and unveiling slowly in the Academy. So this information in detail on how to do this and access this and get information from it will be in those types of things. It will be in Reclamation in the Academy. So coming back to it, it's all held in Gaia's library. Okay. We each have our own Akashic library that is in our auric field. And then we have any human, any being that has had resided in the frequency of Gaia is stationed there. And then we have the main records, which is in the sun. And then we have some more records, which are stationed in Alcyon, which is where the Pleiadians are from. And so more of the cosmic, universal, every type of information, right, is in there. So what they were trying to tell me was that no matter what you do, and this is really, really important, because so often people think, well, if I'm not going to become a healer, and I'm not going to become a teacher, and I'm not going to become a coach, and I'm just going to keep working my regular job that I enjoy or don't enjoy, and I'm just going to be here raising my kids, and I'm just going to be here doing these things, what does it matter if I face my shadows? What does it matter if I face my fears? What does it matter if I reconcile all the hurt inside of me? What does it matter? If I'm not going to do that, how can I be of service? How is what I do affecting anything else? And what they showed me was because of the very fact that everything you do, every challenge you overcome, every mindset you reprogram, every belief you reprogram or release, every past hurt that you forgive, everything that you reconcile, everything that you do that brings peace and harmony inside of you is now recorded in Earth's library, in Gaia's library. And so why is that important? Well, you guys think, right, that all the beings outside of us have all the answers, that the guides that I bring through and channel have all the answers, that your guides have all the answers, that the Pleiadians have the answers, or the Galactic Federation has the answers. But the truth is, yes, they do have a lot of the answers. They have their perception of the answers, because the single infinite truth, if you will, is not one stagnant thing. It's very multidimensional, and it's at the source level, and not everybody is ready to access that. Not only that, but it makes the game less fun if you actually know how to get to the end right away, right? You didn't come here for it to be that easy, even though I know your human aspect wants it to be. So everything you do, when you're healing yourself, when you're facing yourself, when you're meditating, when you're in the present moment, when you're shifting your mindset, when you're doing these things, when you have that personal success of coming back into alignment with self, finding peace inside of yourself, finding happiness inside of yourself, then that is recorded. And beings outside of this experiment that aren't here, that aren't going to be a part of this, can go into and access, just as we go and access those records, right? And we go and talk to the guides, and we access the Akash, right? Whether it's your personal Akash, or if you're going into the Central Sun, or if you're going into Alcyon, you go and say, oh, I want to know how to do this. Well, they're coming in saying, I want to know how to do this. And the reason why they even want to know is because it's interesting to them, right? There are still galactic wars going on different solar systems and different planetary parts of the universe. And they can come in and they can say, Cindy over here, she really forgave quickly. Like, she really figured it out. Let's go check in those records and see how she did it. And let's see if that works for us. So you're literally doing your part and being the change and being a part of this earthly game, this whole experiment that we are here, which the experiment, the game, is integration. It is coming back into union with self and bringing all those aspects back together. It's a complete and utter reconciliation inside the self for integration. You're doing your part, right? So I wanted this must have needed to be heard for somebody, because I wasn't planning on talking about that aspect, but it really tells you that you don't have to be me. You don't have to be someone on a stage. You don't have to be of service in this industry to be a huge change on this planet today. And in fact, there's a reason why they say there's 144,000 star seeds. Think about, there's 8 billion, 7 billion people on the inhabiting the planet, humans. If it only takes 144 of us, 144,000 star seeds, that's all there is. And you fully believe that you are a star seed and you're here to make a change. That's all you have to do. You don't even have to stand up and light the way, but you'll be doing it in your own way. Okay. So let me come back to the 1111 portal, because for someone needed to hear that message. So the reason why, so 1111 comes, 1111 is about manifesting the new. It's about, what is it that you want? This is why everybody says, like, 1111, this is a great day to manifest. It is a great day to set intentions. It's a very great day to get very clear about what it is that you want in your reality, because we are creator beings. We came in with a blueprint. We did set our life up to be a certain way, but that doesn't mean it has to stay that way. We have free will, which means at any given moment, if we don't like the way our life is playing out, we can change it. We can instill new beliefs, new programs. And that is why we go into these Akashic realms, to access it and say, this isn't working for me. My life currently is not working for me. I don't like the way this is going. Let me see, what is it that I really want? Okay, I'm really clear on what I want. Now let me go access the quickest way for me to get there. What is it that I want, and how can I program that to be my new consciousness so that I can have that as my reality? And it doesn't have to be something that is a long, drawn out thing. Ritual was created during a time when we lived in a less photonic rich space in the universe. We had to have all these rituals. This is why, even though I consider myself to be a shaman and I've been dubbed the soul shaman, I don't do things in the traditional shamanic sense because those are old school ways of doing things. It's old paradigms where we have to do 55 rituals to make something happen. Literally, it's a choice to be in that frequency and then sustain that frequency. And that's where people mess up, is they get, let's see, the example that they give is, let's say there's something that you want, right? And you're sitting here on the 4th or 5th floor of this place and you want to get to the 12th floor, right? Because what you want is really high up. So you have to go up to the 12th floor. And you're up on the 12th floor and you're up there and you're meditating and you've got your vision of what you wanted. You're like, this is what I want. I'm manifesting it. I'm going to send it out to the universe. Well, if we're in a mirrored reality, then that means that that request or that intention is a boomerang. So you've sent it out, right? You've sent your order out. But then what happens is you don't stay at the 12th floor. You don't stay at that level. So what happens is you end up coming down. And these levels, mind you, that I'm talking about are your frequencies and the vibration that is you sending that frequency out. So you end up dropping back down to, say, 6th or 7th, or maybe even all the way down to the 3rd or 4th level. And you're sitting there going, why is this taking so long? Where's my manifestation? It's sent back to you, but you weren't there, right? And I know that sounds so simple. And that's what I said. I said, that sounds so simple, but that's it. We have this programming inside of us, right? There's aspects of us that has this programming that things have to be hard and they have to take a long time. And we have to do 8,000 things before we can have it. Sometimes, yes, we have to go through some hard climbs, some challenges to maintain that frequency. And so they have to do a lot of clearing to get us to be able to stay at that level. And that's why it's so important to learn how to reclaim your energy and reconcile those parts inside of yourself, how to come into alignment by collapsing all these other aspects of you and all these other timelines where you're back in poverty or you're back in doubt or you're back in disease in your body or whatever it is for you. That's why we do it. So whether you're doing it for a purpose or just doing it to find peace inside of you and be able to be happy waking up every day going, this is my life and I enjoy whatever it is. This is why we do these things. So 1010 was, in the whole month of October was clearing a lot of density, setting you up for today where you get to decide, what is it that you really want for the new earth? What do you really want? Your reality, first and foremost, right? This is not selfish. This is you coming into alignment. What is it that you really want for your reality? How do you want it to look every day? How do you want to be supported financially, emotionally, mentally? What is going to bring you the most joy? Really get crystal clear on it. And I know I've kind of been a broken record this year on that, knowing who you are, knowing what you want. These are your boundaries. But it's amazing to me how many people still have not done it. Because this is actually a requirement for where we're going. You really have to know who you are and what it is that you want and where it is that you see yourself and desire to go. We cannot be sheep mongering, walking around blindly, waiting for things to bumping into things that kind of guide us into the direction we're going, which is where majority of the population still is. So today is about integration. It's not just integration of self, but it's integration of the last 100 years, because we are literally getting ready to embark on the biggest shift that Earth and Gaia it's ever experienced. This is uncharted territory. So in that sense, right, this is your time to get super clear. You get super clear on what it is that you want. Now that you know what that is, you need to focus all of your intention, right? One of the other messages the guides brought through, I don't know, it's on my YouTube. One of my messages that I brought forth was focused intention equals manifestation equals creation, right? You focus all of your intention on things that are going to lead you to that path. Because that first wave in December is coming, and literally this is us moving into different frequencies. See, people misunderstand dimensions. They think, oh, third dimension is what Gaia's frequency is. That's never going to change. We're always going to have this dense environment. And what they're saying is, and this is their perception, this is the information that they have brought through from me, okay? So if it doesn't resonate, that's okay. But this is what I'm getting from the ninth dimensional Pleiadians, is that Gaia's frequency is changing. She's done with the third dimensional frequency. Her frequency is changing. She has ascended. She, as a being, she is a feminine energy. She is a feminine frequency, has shifted into 5D. That's already happened. Remember, I told you what the guides have been saying is this is a slow motion replay, but with alternate endings. And we have to have alternate endings. And I asked why, because I said, we have a lot of, I get a lot of psychic information, precognition. I get a lot of potentials of where we're going. I get a lot of visions. I get a lot of messages. And what they said is it's going to be really hard to singly predict what timelines the collective is going to choose to move them through this ascension the fastest. In fact, as of this moment, as I went live, it still has not been chosen. And I know that sounds crazy to say, because we have so many potentials, so many different ways of which we make this ascension jump, where we make this quantum leap, who and what makes that first wave that's coming in December. It's not a one-time you get on the ship, you go to 5D, you're done. Like, that's a bunch of bullshit if someone tells you that. It's not going to be easier after. It's going to get harder and harder. It's going to get harder and harder to access after this wave, but it's not going to be impossible. And it's not going to be a one-time and done thing. So what they said was, for this 11/11, right? This is your time to create that. You set your intention. Then when those big waves come in, you've taken that intention, and now you're moving. Those gifts, those knowledge, those things are going to come in when we hit that portal on 12/21 or 12. It is 12/21. So this is why 11/11 is so important and potent today, is so that you can really get clear. So let me stop with there before I go into my 8 days. Someone asked a question. How do I get to the portal then? What portal are you trying to get into? The 11/11 portal? Is that what you mean? Because if that's what you mean, the portal is already open. You don't have to get to it. You're in it right now. We're all in it. That's the whole thing. Again, this is ritual. A lot of times you're going to see people that says, oh, the portal's open. Now let's go access the portal. Let me take you into the portal, right? Now you can go and hire someone or there's a lot of them out there today that have guided meditations, or like mine are called energy healing transmissions, or energy journeys, where someone can take you on a journey to access that portal. But to be honest, you guys are all in the portal right now. I'm sitting in the portal right now. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you're already in the portal. All that is required for you to do is to drop into your heart center and learn how to work with your auric field, expanding yourself out knowing the steps to how to access the information that you're asking for. But if you know what it is that you desire and you know what it is that you want, right? And you're not wanting to take the journey, right? And you're not wanting to do the spiritual development work of how to access all that information. If you just know what you want to create moving forward, then all you have to do is get into your heart center. Get into your heart center, expand your field, and really set that intention. Really focus on that desire that you've written out, that you've said that you wanted. What does it look like? Can you imagine it? Use the right brain and use your imagination, right? Imagine my nation. So imagine what that looks like. Really look at it, feel it, and allow it to be received in the portal. You don't have to do anything else. Remember, I told you ritual is old school. It's back when we didn't have a photonic rich environment to where everything had to take a long time. Okay, so you don't have to do anything other than your portal access is in the now moment. It's stepping into your heart space. Kelly says, I was up all night with anxiety around 2 a.m. and then just got up at 4. I would change your verbiage from anxiety to energy and just say that you were feeling the energy. And because when you feel the energy and then you focus on the energy, what you're doing is drawing more energy to you. Remember, anxiety and overwhelm is, people get really triggered when I say this, but it's true. It's an obsession of self. It's you bringing all of what you're feeling and making it about you. And so you focus on it and you feel it. That doesn't take away from the fact that you had a ton of energy coursing through you, right? As this portal opened, it actually opened with the full moon on the 31st. But as we got into full alignment and you guys were feeling the flood of light coming in, many, many people felt that intense energy starting to run through them. So when that happens, when you guys feel that energy, you want to start working with your breath. And so you want to do shorter breaths in, longer breaths out, because what you're wanting to do is reset your nervous system. Okay. This is all stuff that I teach in the academy. So if you guys want to learn all these tips and tricks that are very simple, that will help change your life, you can join the Self Mastery Academy. So I will have Corey drop a link for you guys to learn how to access that. And that has the new course Reclamation in it. So let me talk about my 8 days of self-isolation, because this is something that I have never done before. And if you're someone who's done like a 10-day, a Vipassana retreat where it's silent and you can't look at anybody and you can't speak to anybody, like kudos to you, because it's hard. And I don't like to use that word hard. It was very challenging, but 8 days of self-isolation. So this actually worked out really perfect leading up to the 11/11 portal for me personally. I have some very big ideals and dreams and creations that I want for my life, that I want to see for my life, right? Because if we are truly the creators of our reality, if we're truly creator beings, and we can literally design this game to be anything that we want it to be, then I had to lay it out. And when I laid it out, I noticed all the stories that came up with it. Okay. And like I said, I'm going to be going deep into this in reclamation, because this is the reconciliation of ourselves, which is in the academy. I noticed these stories coming up still, right? Meaning a new layer was coming up of the stories. This is why we experience sometimes healing multiple things of the same thing. We got to go through layers, right? So I noticed these stories that it was hard, right? It had to be hard. I'm not working hard enough. Even during my 8 days of isolation, I noticed that I felt completely lazy because I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't productive. I wasn't working. I wasn't, on social media the whole time. I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't recording courses. I wasn't planning events. I wasn't doing creative adventures. Literally, you guys, I was waking up. I was working out. I was meditating. I was channeling. I was talking to myself in the mirror. I was talking to myself on video. I was screaming at myself. I was having it out with myself. I was nurturing myself. I was facing all of the demons, all of the voices in my head, all that was left. I wanted to hear their words. Why do you feel this way? Because for me, I'm someone who's had not an easy journey this far, right? I've had a very tragic life up until this point. I've had a lot of terrible things happen to me in my life. And I've been a victim for a very long time. And I didn't want any part of that energy anymore. I didn't. I said, I'm done with this. And so for 8 days, I said, we're going to have it out. I was scheduled for surgery on 11/10, on November 10th. It was a dual procedure. And I knew the next day was 11/11, which makes a 10-day completion cycle, right? Because 8 days is the infinity symbol. It's going through both sides. So for 8 days, I went through all sides of it. There were days where I didn't want to post. There were days where I was super angry with myself. I had given so much energy away my whole life as an empath, as a highly sensitive, as a wounded healer, as someone who's been persecuted, as someone who has been around many narcissists, as someone who has been abused, someone who's had tons of tragedy and grief in her life and loss and struggle, and also equal success and joy. I had to face all of that. I had to see where I had given my energy away. I actually have notes because I literally have my whiteboard that I use for teaching, and I just literally was going to town with my whiteboard. So I had to see where I was taking and feeling responsibility for others, what I was taking ownership that wasn't mine, right? What was I attaching to? Because in my blueprint, attachment is a huge part of it. Instead of celebrating life, most of my life I attached meaning to every single thing, and I made it about me, and it's why everything happened to me. So I had to sit and look at where I was doing those things, and the biggest one was where I had given my energy away to. What have I given away? What have I given away? Right? I had to look at it, because when we've given something away, we have resentment. Right. I spent 8 years in that relationship, and I gave you everything I had. Like we say these things, right? I gave you everything I had. I gave you all my good years. I gave you everything. And we build resentment because we gave it away. Right. I had all this money and I blew it. I blew it on this and I blew it on that. I gave it away. We have resentment. Right. I did all this work. I built this thing and then nobody bought it. Nobody valued it. Nobody did anything. I gave all of this energy, attention. I gave it all away. Resentment. And that's what I was noticing in my field was everything I wanted was on the other side of resentment and anger. But that resentment and anger wasn't actually at my exes or my business or with my family. It was all self-resentment and anger. It was all self-resentment and anger. Because at the end of the day, nobody can take anything from us without our permission. Nobody can take anything away from us without our permission. And so we have to take responsibility. We have to take ownership, and we have to say, I created this. And if you don't have the tools or the courage to face those words, it can take you into a very deep darkness, because I've been there, right? I'm someone who've been through many dark nights of the soul, 2 big ones that one lasted almost a year, one lasted 6 months. And this was a long time ago, but it can take you into some very deep, dark places, because you then go into the spiral of self-hatred. You go into the spiral of shame and guilt and judgment, right? If you look at the Bible and everything talks about judgment, right? Judgment is you facing yourself in the mirror. It isn't facing God. And that's what reclamation is about in the Academy. It's about, I got all my aspects of self into the car, into the van. We're all going in the same direction, but they're all still fucking fighting, right? They're all still fighting with each other, right? They may be a little bit more calm. They may be a little bit more trusting. But when we get into reclamation, we're not just reclaiming those aspects, we're reclaiming the energy that we gave those aspects. And then we're reconciling them. We're integrating them. That's the power of what we have to do here. That's the power we have. So I'm sitting here looking at it and I said, I need to know how to look at that heaviness of I created this, right? How did I blow through almost $200,000? How did I end up in 3 divorces? How did I end up where I am right now, starting over once again? How did I create, I created all, how do I not look at those and say, these are huge failures? How do I look at these and say that I can look at myself in the mirror and forgive myself? It was crazy. It was heavy. The short answer, where I'm not going into detail, again, that's going to be reserved for my course in the academy. The short answer, the simplest answer I can give you is finding purpose in the pain, right? They came back to me, my own team came back to me and said, Johanna, the answer's inside of you. You've been teaching it for years. And I said, well, what is it? Because right now I'm in the thick of it. Right now I'm pissed at myself. Right now I'm sitting in the mirror crying and yelling at myself going, you did this to yourself. They said, what is your motto? What is the thing that you do? What is the simplest way to describe what you're here to do? Turn your pain into purpose. Okay, well, how do you do that? Well, you find the purpose and why it had to happen that way. Right? Because my other motto that I say all the time is you can't have today's awareness without yesterday's mistake. Sometimes that means we have to repeat that mistake 10 times until we get the awareness. The moment we get the awareness, it's a choice after that. It's a choice to repeat it again. Once you're in that present moment and you catch and you have that awareness of why you've been doing things the way that you've been doing them, now it's a choice every day after that moment to reinfect you with that old programming or choose a new direction. So I had to go through and see how I benefited from all the things that I created. I had to find the purpose in the pain. What purpose did it serve me? Okay. Now, I literally got so deep into this and ended up channeling on my whiteboard. I said, I want to know the simplest, easiest method to work with the subconscious aspects of self. I'm already in the middle of recording this course. Here I am doing 8 days of this shit, going super deep. And this was for me. I had no intention of doing this for the course. It just happened. It's just the way it worked out, right? And so I got it. I got it all written out and I started using it. And it's so simple and it's so easy. And it came out really good. So the last 2 days of isolation, and what do I mean by isolation? So because I was having surgery, I had to go into my own lockdown. I couldn't leave my apartment. I couldn't leave my space. I couldn't see anybody, right? So I lived by myself. My son stayed extra at his dad's. My daughter lives with her dad too, or stepdad, whatever. And so my kids all stayed there. So I was in my apartment alone. I didn't go out. I didn't speak to anybody on the phone. If I wanted to speak to my community, I did it. I designated certain times when I came on in the morning and posted my content. I came on and posted my evening content if I felt aligned to post. Some days I didn't have any inspiration at all, or the energy was terrible to do so. So I didn't. And if I needed to put a message out there, I recorded it privately and then uploaded it to YouTube, which I did because of the election. I minimized my social media to when I was on for posting for business, and I minimized any time watching TV. The only time I really watched movies or anything was when I was purging. So when you go through a purge, the easiest way to purge is to purge through somebody else's story and not your own. So turn on a movie that makes you cry, sit there and just allow yourself to get enthralled into their story and just allow the purge. So when I was going through the purging stage, I was literally on my couch most of the day watching movies that made me cry because it helped me to purge what was coming out. So the last couple of days of the 8 days were probably the most boring because I had done the work. I had faced myself. I had done it, and I was starting to get my energy back. I had given so much of my energy away, guys, over the last 40 years, especially with that wounded healer energy, right? When we're wounded healers, we don't feel like we should charge anything. We feel like we should just show up and give everybody all of our information. We want to help every person in the world on the street. We want to loan them our last dollar, our last shirt, give them our last loaf of bread, whatever, right? We want to be that person that rescues, that is needed. That's the wounded healer. Because that's not how it's supposed to be. People think just because we're being of service that everything's meant to be free. And that's not right. There's no yin and yang. There has to be a balance of exchange. So for me, I spent years giving away everything, right? I did everything for everyone. I was the people pleaser. I did things to make people like me. I did things to make people love me. I did things to make people accept me. When I was introduced to new friends, I'd be like, what version of me needs to show up so that I'm accepted into this group? I never really became myself. And so even though I've gotten I know who I am, and that stopped a long time ago, I still was giving a lot of my energy away, and I needed to fully reclaim it. And so the last couple of days, I had reclaimed most of my energy. And so now I'm stuck in a house, right? Going insane because I can't leave my house, right? Even if I wanted to end the isolation, I couldn't because I was going to have surgery. And that was probably the most challenging for me because I had to face those stories of being able to just sit and say, it's okay to be quiet right now. It's okay to stare at the wall like paint's drying. I had to just allow myself and keep surrendering over and over and over and over again to the stillness within me, because that stillness is the most precious energy we have. When we can still our mind and we can still our energy and we can just allow ourselves to surrender, that is the most powerful state we can ever enter. So then comes surgery day, 11/10, and I set the intention for that surgery. I said, when I go in, I want whatever remains, whatever attachments remain, whatever anger and resentments that I didn't fully clear, that are not needed to be cleared, right? That I've gotten the lesson, I'm ready. I want it to be removed, healed during this surgery. And so during the endoscopy, right, I come out of anesthesia, and the doctor tells me that while they were doing the endoscopy, they found precancer cells or cancerous cells, or I don't even know if they were cells. There was some cancer word thrown in there. They found something, they took it out, they're taking it to biopsy. So yesterday, I come home and there wasn't a lot of recovery needed because I had a colonoscopy and an endoscopy. And so it's just a lot of discomfort. So I spent the rest of the day pretty much in bed, and I was having a lot of stories come up about cancer, because cancer runs in my family, right? And we think these things. This is the story, right? Cancer runs through my family. And, it's genetic. We say these terms. And so I was observing. I wasn't attaching. I wasn't playing in the energy. But I was observing how the story was coming up and how attached I had been to that story that I'm going to get cancer because my grandmother's had cancer, my grandfather's had cancer, all these people in my life have died of cancer and all different types of cancer. It's not like just one that ran through. But the theme was what came through this morning as I was laying there this morning going, here's the thing is I have been clearing so much of that energy. When we heal ourselves, right? At least the way that I do it, when you heal yourselves, you literally heal all aspects of self, right? All aspects of you in every timeline that exists, every lifetime that exists, you heal that aspect, number one. But number two, the way that I do the healing is root cleansing, right? So I clear it for my energetic line. I stop that genetic programming. I stop that story that cancer runs in my family. And so when I got up this morning, I was laying there, I was getting this big message coming through, and I was just listening to it as it was coming in. And they basically said to me, hello, like, you asked us to take it out. You asked for anything that remained to be removed. So yes, cancer is an attachment. Disease, dis-ease, is an attachment. It's an attachment, a repression, an avoidance, right? It's something that you won't face and deal with. It begins to grow like a mass, right? This is where endometriosis comes in, which is something that I suffered from for years. It's why I had to have a hysterectomy. This is where a lot of issues come in, a lot of disease, a lot of the Hashimoto's, right? A lot of the fibromyalgia, a lot of the things about inflammation, right? These are all diseases. And a disease is a dis-ease. So they said, of course, you asked us to take it. When you ask, it is given. If you don't ask us, we can't help you. Right? You guys have free will. You literally have to ask for assistance. And you asked, and we removed it. And I thought, oh. And just like that, I dropped the story. And I was like, okay, that makes sense to me. That feels truth to me. That resonates in my field. And of course, this all happened waking up on 11/11. So I set it up for myself perfectly. But the biggest takeaway from it, oh, and by the way, I'll add this. I do everything a little bit extreme. It's just who I am. And I don't know if I'll always be that way because I don't know if I like it, but I like the challenge. I'm someone who likes the challenge. I fasted for 5 of those days. I had no food. So not only did I have no social media or no TV to distract me, I had no food. I had no emotional comfort. So I literally had to get myself back into alignment. I literally had to make the choice to change my frequency. I literally had to make the choice to face these aspects of me because I couldn't numb them with food. I wasn't going to distract myself with social media or with TV or with people messaging me. I wasn't going to do that. So I had to take all those distractions away. I highly recommend it for anybody who has done enough work, who has enough tools to be able to do this kind of work and face themselves. I highly recommend it. It's not an easy thing to do, right? Because we have responsibilities as humans, right? We feel selfish if we do things that are just for ourselves. But I can't tell you enough times, the word selfish needs to go out the window. When you do something that fills up your own cup, that cup's going to pour over into another cup, period. But if you feel like you have to constantly give to be of service, just to do everything for everybody in your household or your business or your work, you're eventually going, that's selfish because you're not giving to yourself, right? You're not refueling yourself. So anytime you start with you, there's always going to be an overflow. But if you start with another person, you're going to lose every single time. So stop seeing the time that it takes on yourself to slow down and be present. Stop seeing the time you invest, the money you invest in books, in courses, in retreats, in academies, in going away for a weekend to be alone, in whatever you need. Stop viewing those things as selfish. I can't do that because my family would go without. Well, if you don't do those types of things, if you don't give to yourself first, your family's probably not going to like you a whole lot. They're still going to love you, but you're going to be pulling because you have drained yourself so much. You think you're giving, but what you're really doing is taking, because you have to continue running. So you're going to continue running by taking other people's energy. Whether you believe that or not, that's what's happening, because you need energy. It's cyclical. So you always want to be overflowing so that you're never taking from another. You're just always multiplying it, right? You're always multiplying the energy. But when you don't do these things for yourself, when you don't have a routine that gives time and energy to yourself, to nurturing yourself, then what you're doing is taking from other people. That's the true selfishness. And I really just wanted to share that with you guys. And so again, that was the main purpose of this, is to help you understand the importance of 11/11 and to kind of share with you guys my 8 days in isolation. So if you guys are interested in learning the tools to help yourself to really have a full tool belt, be fully supported as we go into 2021, this ride only gets a little bit more intense as we go. It only gets crazier as we go. My academy is designed to teach you how to access yourself, how to trust yourself, how to be able to do this work. Because here's the thing, we don't actually have to go into past lives. We don't actually have to go into our galactic lives. We don't actually have to go into other timelines to reclaim or reconcile anything. All we have to do is be present in the now. Because whatever needed to be reconciled in that time, we will literally bring it into this now moment to clear it up. Can we go and reconcile things so we don't have to do it in the physical form? Absolutely. So I show you both ways, because once you leave my space, right, once you're no longer in, you just have the tools. When that next thing shows up on your timeline, like now it's been 3 months and you've been away from me for 3 months. You did 6 months in the academy and you got what you needed. And 3 months later, some big lesson pops up on your timeline that came from 3 lifetimes ago. You're like, oh, I know how to do this. This isn't a big deal. I'm aware of what's happening. And now I go do, and it's reconciled. And I don't have to spend weeks and months going through this downward cycle of shame and guilt and resentment and anger, because you feel like this is how it has to be. You can just have the awareness, see the purpose, go through the process of integration within a very short amount of time. Sometimes even just the decision or awareness alone. But this is where we're going. We're going into a space of self-governing. We're going into a space of self-leadership. Because the more and more people wake up, the less we need a physical government. Schools are all going to look different. The way we educate our children is going to look different. The way that we feed ourselves is going to look different. And this is going to take a little bit of linear time to play out and sync out, but it requires us each to do this work. This is how we shift. Okay. So that's what I have for you guys today. Let me see if there's any other questions. Is the portal a black hole we have to go through? No, the portal is not a black hole. It's not a black hole. A portal is an alignment, right? So like 1221 is the big number everybody keeps talking about, right? My team calls it the Great Activation, but it's not one day, right? So like I said on my November energy update, is we're going into, what did they say? I don't know, like I could be wrong because I don't remember everything I channel. 14th, 15th, I don't know, somewhere in there of December, we're going to be transiting into a very photonic, and not even transiting, moving, like Gaia is constantly moving, right? Just moving through the universe. We're going to be moving through a very photonic rich place, heading towards an alignment that allows for certain activation codes to come in. And so we will be in that alignment window for about a month if we're going to go by linear time, right? About 30, 40 days. So it isn't a black hole. It's just an energetic alignment, a map of the star system of the universe. And so as Gaia is going through the universe, she's going through this photonic rich area, and she's coming into a space of alignment where this portal is, right? Where certain codes can come through. So any portal we go through, that's what happens. But for this particular one in December, this one is not a one-day thing, you guys. We're going to be in this energy for a little while. Okay. So I hope that clears up that question. All right. Thank you guys for hopping on today. Thank you for any donations that were received. I love you guys so much. I appreciate you. And if you feel drawn to accessing these tools and being supported by me, then check out the Self-Mastery Academy. This Friday, we are going to be rolling out Module 3 of Reclamation. And it's good stuff, you guys. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Go get clear on what you want and set that intention. And I'll see you next time.